At 15, my stepdad destroyed my Jordans and shoved me for refusing to donate my savings to the house. Minutes later, my father arrived, broke his nose in front of the neighbors, filed a report, and took me out of that house for good. Hey, Reddit! I grew up dealing with a stepdad who thought he ran my entire life. I tried to ignore it, keep my head down, do my own thing, but the dude kept pushing. Then he crossed a line he never should have crossed. Before we get there, I gotta start from the beginning. I'm Jalen Rivera, 15, and my life splits between my mom's house and my dad's apartment. At my mom Tanya's place, it's her husband Gordon Pike, his 18-year-old son Braden, who acts like he runs everything, and my quiet half-brother Kendrick, who's my age. Mom tries to keep the peace even though Gordon thinks he's the boss of the whole house. My dad, Darius Rivera, is the one adult I can actually be myself around. People might assume he's the typical struggling divorced dad, but that's not him. He used to run a steady auto detailing shop until it got robbed one night. They wiped him out. Tools, equipment, cash, even the speakers he bought for Christmas, and insurance barely helped. He went from owning a business to squeezing into a tiny apartment, but he never broke down, just got more focused. And the divorce wasn't about the money. My parents' relationship had been fading for a long time. They tried getting back together twice, but it just didn't work anymore. Mom got custody because her house looked more stable when the court looked at everything. She had a steady job, a full house, and technically a family structure because of Gordon. My dad had a one-bedroom apartment and a business he was trying to rebuild from scratch. The court didn't care about the stuff that actually matters, like who actually listens or who actually shows up when life sucks. Even after all that, I never stopped seeing Dad. I'm with him every weekend unless something stops me, and if it's been a bad week at my mom's house, I call him, and he tells me, yeah, come over. No hesitation. He's that type of dad who shows up early, not late. The type who answers every text, even if it's just me sending him a picture of a dumb meme. Meanwhile, at my mom's house, things are different. Gordon's always talking about respect, but he's the most disrespectful person in the room. He and Braden act like they're co-running the house, and everyone else is just a guest who didn't RSVP. Kendrick tries to stay out the way. And honestly, same. Mom does what she can. I don't blame her for the situation, because it's not like she married Gordon thinking he'd turn into Captain Control Freak. She's not a bad mom. She's just constantly trying to stop everything from blowing up. You can tell she's tired even when she's smiling. If you asked anyone outside the house, they'd say I'm lucky, because I have two homes. Sure, two addresses, two beds, two different sets of rules, but only one place where I actually breathe properly. At Dad's place, I sit on the couch without thinking about how loud the TV is or whether someone's about to come in and complain. I can drop my bag on the floor without someone acting like I burned the house down. I can laugh without getting told to lower my voice. People at school think I'm chill because I don't get worked up over dumb stuff, but that's just because I'm too tired to waste energy. Most of the time when I'm at my mom's, I just keep my mouth shut and stay in my room. The only time my phone isn't in my hand is when I'm asleep, or when I'm at Dad's actually living like a normal person. I know how all this sounds, like some dramatic teen rant, but trust me, if I could show you 5 minutes of what it's like when Gordon walks into a room, you'd get it. The whole house tightens. Even the air feels heavier. It's like he thinks the rest of us are employees he hired without telling us. The messed up part is, I don't hate my mom's house. I hate what Gordon turned it into. If he wasn't there, it'd probably be fine. But every day feels like I'm waiting for him to check something off the imaginary list he keeps in his head called ways to remind Jalen this isn't his house. That's the thing. The problem isn't my dad's house. My dad's house is where I feel like myself. It's where I get to be a kid, or a teen, or whatever I'm supposed to be right now. The problem is this house. Living with Gordon was basically like having a hall monitor who never clocked out. The dude acted like the air in the house belonged to him. If I poured cereal too loud in the morning, he cleared his throat behind me like I just committed a felony in the kitchen. If I left my shoes by the door, he kicked them to the side with that dramatic sigh he thought made him look tough. Half the time, I was convinced he waited around corners just to catch me doing something wrong. Meanwhile, Braden, his golden child, could do literally anything, and Gordon defended him like a lawyer on TV. Braden left dishes in the sink. He had a long day. Braden blasted music at 1 in the morning. He's expressing himself. I breathed too loud in the living room. Jalen, you need to learn respect. And Kendrick, my half-brother, stayed quiet in his room. He wasn't a bad kid. He just didn't want smoke with anybody. So he kept his face down and hoped Gordon forgot he existed. I didn't blame him. Then came the school call. It wasn't even a big thing. I got into a small shove match with a dude in PE who kept talking trash. Nobody got hurt, the teacher broke it up in 10 seconds. I figured worst case, detention. Instead, the school decided to call home. And of course they called when Gordon was the one who picked up. I walked through the door later, and Gordon was standing in the hallway, like he was auditioning for a crime documentary. Your teacher called, he said, crossing his arms. Cool, I said, because I was already tired. Cool? His voice got louder. You think this is funny? I mean, if we're rating jokes, it's like a 4 out of 10. He stepped closer, like he was waiting for me to flinch. You're turning into your dad, he said. Always a problem. Always trouble. You think you can act like this and live under my roof? I hated when people dragged my dad into stuff that had nothing to do with him. It was a shove, not a gang war, I said. Relax. He pointed a finger at me like I was a toddler he was scolding. Keep it up and I'll handle it. I'll take your job away. I'll take that phone. I'll take anything you think you own. I laughed under my breath, not because it was funny, but because I refused to let him see me bothered. Yeah, okay. Let me know when you write up the official list. That set him off. His face got red, and I knew he wanted to yell louder, but my mom walked into the room. What happened? Tanya asked, looking between us. She sounded tired already. Gordon jumped on it. Your son got into a fight. At school. Teacher said he was being disrespectful. It wasn't a fight, I said. It was PE. Guy shoved me. I shoved him back. Mom tried to calm things down. Gordon, it's not that serious. He cut her off. It is serious. He's out of control. He thinks he's grown because he has a job. He's starting to act just like Darius. Mom went quiet. That usually meant she was scared it would turn into one of those arguments where Gordon threw stuff or punched a wall. She gave me this look like, please stop talking so he doesn't explode. Honestly, I wanted to keep roasting him, but I also didn't want my mom shaking all night. So I shut up, grabbed my backpack, and headed toward my room. I was almost at the door when Gordon called after me. Don't get comfortable. I'm not finished with you. Yeah, I kind of figured, I said, without turning around. My mom slipped into my room later like she was sneaking into a hospital ward. Jalen, you okay? Yeah, I said, shrugging. Just another episode of Gordon Thinks He's Somebody. She sat on the edge of my bed. She looked like she wanted to defend me more than she did, but she was scared of setting him off again. I'm sorry he talked to you like that, she said quietly. I tried to stop it. I know, I said. It's not on you. She rubbed my shoulder and whispered, just stay in here for tonight. Give him time to cool off. That was the thing. In this house, everyone was always waiting for Gordon to cool off. After she left, I called my dad. He picked up on the second ring like always. What's going on, Jay? Darius asked. I gave him the quick version, leaving out the part where Gordon threatened to take my job, because I knew Dad would have driven over and started swinging. He listened quietly the whole time. Listen, he said when I finished. None of that was your fault. Don't let him make you feel like you're the problem. You handled it better than I would have at 15. I smirked a little. He said I'm turning into you. Well, Dad said, if that's the worst he can come up with, you're doing pretty good. Talking to him calmed me down. It always did. When I hung up, I could still hear Gordon in the other room ranting about kids these days and pretending he was the main character of the house. But as far as I was concerned, the only real problem here wasn't school or work or my dad. It was him. Money in our house worked on a system Gordon pretended he invented. My mom, Tanya, covered the basics. Food, school stuff, whatever I actually needed. Anything extra? That was on me. Shoes, clothes I actually liked, phone upgrades, games, even going out with friends. If it wasn't necessary, I had to pay for it myself. I didn't even complain about it. I was used to earning my own stuff. I had a part-time job after school at this small tech repair spot. Plus, I flipped old phones and did small resell stuff online when I could. It wasn't anything wild, but for a 15-year-old, it added up. Every time I got paid, I stashed most of it. Dad always told me, keep something put away. You never know. And after seeing how fast he lost everything after the robbery, yeah, I took that seriously. Meanwhile, Braden, Gordon's son, lived like his dad's wallet was a magic fountain. New headphones, new shoes, new games, gas money, food money. Gordon gave it to him without blinking. Half the time, it was stuff Braden didn't even ask for. The guy breathed, and Gordon rewarded him. So, of course, when Gordon found out I had been saving money, suddenly I was the selfish one. The house accountant, the ungrateful tenant who should have been donating every dollar to family responsibilities. Yet it started small, like Gordon asking, how much did you make this week? I said, enough. He said, enough for what? Enough, I repeated, because I knew exactly where he was trying to go with it. Then he escalated. You need to start helping with bills. You're old enough. I'm 15, I reminded him. In this house, 15 isn't a kid. Then Braden must be, what, 40? That obviously didn't go over well. One night after dinner, he cornered me in the hallway. You got all this money saved up and your mom's doing everything around here. How's that fair? I looked him dead in the eye. It's crazy how you only say that to me and not the 18-year-old who didn't even put his dishes away. He stepped in closer like he wanted to intimidate me. Braden is responsible. You're not. Right. The kid who slept till noon and left his car running in the driveway because he forgot to turn it off was responsible. Good one. The whole time my mom just tried to keep things from exploding. She knew Gordon's temper. She knew he'd start yelling if she disagreed too loud. But she also knew he was dead wrong about the money situation, and she didn't like how he treated me over it. She picked her moments. One afternoon, Gordon left to pick up something from the hardware store, and Tanya knocked lightly on my door. Jalen, can you come here a minute? I followed her into the kitchen. She kept glancing toward the front door like Gordon might teleport in. Then she lowered her voice. How much do you have saved? I shrugged. Enough. She gave me a look. Jalen. I sighed. A little over 1,000. She closed her eyes like she already knew but didn't want to. Then she opened the cabinet beside her and pulled down an old shoebox. I want you to take the money you keep here and move it to your dad's. Cash only. Don't talk about it in front of Gordon. I blinked. You're telling me to hide money? From your husband? She looked embarrassed but serious. Just in case. I don't want him touching anything you earned. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Mom, you're turning into a spy. She actually smiled for a second. Maybe, but I'm not letting him take what's yours. And that was when I realized she was scared too. Not of me, not of my money, of him. That same night, I headed to my dad's place and slipped the shoebox into the bottom drawer of his dresser. Dad raised an eyebrow when he saw me hide it. You starting a secret stash? He asked. I sat on the edge of his couch. Mom told me to move my money here. She doesn't trust Gordon. Dad nodded like he expected that. Smart move. Keep saving. Don't let that man scare you out of what you've earned. I grinned. You just want me to buy you a car in 10 years. Exactly, he said. You're my retirement plan. We joked, but he was right. Everything I saved myself. No one handed me anything. And I wasn't about to let Gordon claim I owed him just because he didn't like seeing me do better than his golden child. By the time I headed home that night, one thing was clear. If Gordon wanted my money, he was going to have to fight my dad, my mom, and a shoebox hidden under a pile of Darius's old sweatshirts. For months, I had been saving for one thing. The Drop. A limited Jordan collab I had been stalking since the leaks. Clean colorway, stupid rare, and basically guaranteed to make half my school jealous. When release day hit, I was on 3 devices, 2 apps, and a prayer. Somehow I actually hit. I stared at the confirmation screen like I had just won the lottery. I didn't even breathe for a second. Then I texted my dad. Got him. He sent back 10 fire emojis and, I better see these in person. When the box showed up 3 days later, I opened it in my room like I was defusing a bomb. Fresh leather smell, icy soles, perfect stitching. I stood in front of the mirror wearing them with 3 different outfits like some unofficial lookbook model. I took pictures, sent them to my friends, and got messages like, bro, you hit? And nah, that's crazy. Even my mom, Tanya, smiled when she saw them. They're very shiny, she said, trying to sound like she understood sneaker culture. She didn't, but she liked seeing me happy. I even showed them to my dad when I went over that evening. Darius picked one up like it belonged in a museum. You earned these, he said. They look crazy clean. So yeah, good day. Then I came back to Gordon's house. I had the sneakers in their box and planned to keep them in my closet, away from any of Gordon's lessons. I set them on my bed for 1 minute while I grabbed a hoodie from the laundry room. When I came back, the box was gone. I already knew who took it before I even walked out of my room. Braden. Sure enough, he was in the living room, casually flipping the lid open and closed while watching TV like it didn't belong to someone else. Give it, I said. He smirked. Chill, bro. I just wanted to see what you wasted your paycheck on. It's my money, not yours. He shrugged, but he didn't hand the box back. Instead, he put it right in the middle of the coffee table, the exact spot Gordon saw immediately when he walked in. And of course, just then, Gordon walked through the door. He looked at Braden. Then he looked at the sneaker box. Then he looked at me. What's that? Gordon asked, even though the giant Jumpman logo should have answered for him. My shoes, I said. He lifted the lid like he was about to inspect contraband. How much did these cost? A sale, I lied. Not much. He gave me that condescending snort he did when he thought he caught someone. Tell me the real price. Why? Because you think you can do whatever you want in my house with my electricity, my food, and my rules. And then you spend your money on this nonsense? They're not nonsense, I said. They're rare, and I paid for them. Gordon started pacing like he was lecturing a whole classroom. Selfish. Irresponsible. You're 15, not a millionaire. Meanwhile, your mom works herself to the bone, and you're out here buying toys. Braden pretended to cough, but he was hiding a smile. I realized right then, he hadn't accidentally left the box out. He wanted this. He wanted Gordon to go off. You know what? Gordon said. Open your phone. Show me your bank app. I want to see how much money you have. I laughed. Yeah, that's not happening. His face hardened. Open it. No, I said, looking him straight in the eye. He stepped closer and reached for my phone like he owned it. I pulled it back and hit the lock button before he could touch the screen. He got red. Give me the phone. You're not my dad, I said calmly. You don't get to demand that. You live in my house, he snapped. And that automatically makes you my accountant? He lunged for the phone again, but I slid it into my pocket. Jalen, my mom said from behind him, voice shaking a little. You don't have to show him your bank. Gordon turned on her. Tanya, stay out of this. He needs discipline. She went quiet instantly. I hated how fast fear shut her down. He looked back at me. If you think you're going to waste money and ignore house rules, think again. They're my shoes, I said, keeping my voice steady. My money. I earned it. Not in my house, you didn't. The tone in the room shifted. You could feel it. Kendrick quietly disappeared down the hall. Braden just watched with that smug little tilt in his chin. I grabbed the sneaker box before Gordon could, walked past him, and headed toward my room. No yelling, no dramatic exit, just me not giving him the satisfaction. I heard Gordon mutter something like, "We'll see about that," but I kept walking. When my door closed behind me, I sat on the edge of my bed, shoes safe beside me, and one thing was obvious. The air in that house had just dropped about 20 degrees. Something had changed. And it wasn't the sneakers. Gordon's attitude didn't just shift after the sneaker situation, it jumped levels. It was like he decided I wasn't just a problem anymore. I was a threat he needed to shut down. He started doing these little power moves around the house, opening my drawers without asking, going through my backpack when he thought I wasn't watching, picking up random things in my room, and acting like he was checking for mess. He even held my phone charger once and said, "You wouldn't have this if I didn't pay the electric bill." I snatched it back. That's wild, Gordon. Really heroic of you. He hated sarcasm. It made him feel small, and he reacted exactly like a guy who couldn't stand feeling small. Then he pulled the one move that made everything flip. He tried banning me from seeing my dad. It started during one of his rants in the kitchen. "You're getting too influenced by Darius," he said, pacing like he was delivering a TED Talk no one asked for. "He fills your head with nonsense. You come back here acting grown. That stops now." I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You know you can't tell me I can't see my dad, right?" "I can when you live under my roof," he snapped. "You're not going over there this weekend." "Yes, I am," I said, not raising my voice even a little. "Try and stop me." He looked at my mom. "Tanya, say something." My mom looked torn. She opened her mouth, closed it, then finally said, "He's allowed to see his father, Gordon. This is my house," Gordon barked. "I decide what happens under it." "No, you don't," I said. Quiet, firm. That was it. He went off. He started yelling about custody, about how he should have been the one raising me, about how Darius failed as a father, which made me step forward so fast my mom grabbed my arm. "Don't!" she whispered, scared. He ignored her and pointed at me like he was making some dramatic speech. "This boy needs discipline. He needs to learn respect." He grabbed my shoulder and shoved me back. Hard. Hard enough I stumbled. Pain shot up my arm, where his fingers dug in. My mom shook. Literally shook. She pulled me toward my room and hissed, "Jalen, pack a bag. Go to your father. Now." While I stuffed clothes into my backpack, she hovered in the doorway, wringing her hands. "Mom, what's going on?" She took a shaky breath. "This isn't the first time he's gotten like this." Her voice cracked. "He grabbed my arm last month, and another time he punched the wall near me. I didn't want to scare you. I just tried to keep it all calm." I froze. I had expected a lot of things from Gordon, but not that. She wiped her face quickly. "Please leave tonight. I'll tell him you're staying with a friend if I need to. Just go." I hugged her, and she squeezed me tight like she was trying to transfer strength into me. Outside, I texted Dad, "Come now, please." He didn't ask a single question. He just sent, "On my way." I waited on the curb with my backpack at my feet. The second Dad's car turned onto the street. Gordon blasted out of the house like he had been tracking me from the window. He stomped right toward the driveway and planted himself in front of my dad's car. Dad pulled up slow, saw Gordon blocking the way, and parked. He got out calmly, like he was stepping out to check the weather. "Move," my dad said. Not loud, just one word. Gordon puffed up. "You don't tell me what to do on my property." Dad took 2 steps forward, not breaking eye contact. "Move." Gordon swung first. It wasn't a dramatic movie punch, more like a wild slap swing combination from someone who didn't know how to fight but wanted to feel in control for a second. Dad didn't hesitate. He grabbed Gordon by the front of his shirt, shoved him hard, and Gordon went stumbling back. He hit the edge of the walkway and fell, nose first. A crack echoed. Blood followed. Neighbors peeked out from porches. A couple people who had been walking their dog stopped. Everyone saw that Gordon threw the first swing. Everyone saw what happened next. Dad stepped back, breathing steady. "You ever touch my son again?" he said. "You'll deal with more than a broken nose." He didn't yell. He didn't cuss. He just sounded like a man who meant every word. Gordon curled on the ground, wheezing through blood. My dad put a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go." We got in the car and left. When we got to his place, he didn't even take his shoes off. He brought me straight into the kitchen, pointed at a chair, and grabbed his phone. "Sit," he said, already switching into protective dad mode. He checked my arm, my shoulder, the spot on my back where Gordon shoved me. Then he took photos, angles, close-ups, time-stamped. "This is all going on record," he said. "Nobody touches my kid." For the first time that whole day, I felt safe. Not because Gordon was done yelling, but because I was out of that house. The next morning, Dad said we were going back to get my stuff. He didn't walk in alone either. He brought Uncle Roland, who was basically family, and the type of guy nobody tried anything in front of. Dad just said, "Witness." And that was that. When we pulled up, the front blinds twitched. Gordon was always watching the driveway like he owned the entire block. Dad knocked, and Tanya opened the door fast, like she'd been standing behind it waiting. Her eyes went straight to me, checking I was okay, then to Roland, then to Darius. She stepped aside immediately. The first thing I saw when I walked in was Gordon sitting on the couch with this big white nose mask strapped to his face, bruised cheeks, puffy eyes. He looked like an angry raccoon in a medical commercial. He tried talking the second he saw me. "Jayla, we need to talk," I snorted. Out loud. I didn't even try to hide it. His voice was completely stuffed, every word coming out through congestion and bandages. He pointed at me like I was supposed to take him seriously. Dad raised an eyebrow at me. I shrugged. What was I supposed to do? Pretend he didn't sound like that. Roland crossed his arms and stayed by the doorway, not saying a word. Dad said, "We're here to get his things. That's it." Gordon tried sitting up straighter. "He can just leave." "He already left," Dad said. "Last night." "I didn't give permission." Dad stepped closer, slow. "You're not giving permission for anything." Gordon shut up. Or maybe he just ran out of airflow. I walked down the hall to my room, Tanya close behind me. She grabbed hangers and shoved them at me like she was scared he'd burst in at any second. "You should hurry," she whispered. "Please." I started packing. Hoodies, jeans, school stuff, whatever, didn't remind me of this house. I bent to grab my sneaker box, the big one I kept under my bed. It wasn't there. The floor felt wrong under my shoes. I checked the closet. Nothing. Then I saw something sticking out of the laundry basket. My stomach dropped. I pulled the sneakers out, and the smell hit first. Bleach. One shoe was warped like it had been baked in a dryer. The other had blotchy white stains. Laces twisted into some melted knot. The soles were bent. Leather cracked. The entire shape was ruined. Those rare Jordans weren't just dirty. They were gone. Someone had thrown them in the washer on full blast, probably with chemicals, then tossed them into the dryer until they cooked. I didn't need Sherlock Holmes for this one. It was Gordon, no question. I held the shoes up. "Mom." She covered her mouth. "Jalen, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he..." Gordon's voice echoed down the hall, muffled and nasal. "I washed them for you! They need a cleaning! You shouldn't waste money on stuff like that!" I walked out into the hallway with the destroyed sneakers in my hands. "This is cleaning," I asked. He smacked his hand on the arm of the couch. "It wash a lesson!" he tried to shout. It came out like, "E waja leshun." I didn't even bother replying. I just turned on my phone camera and took pictures from every angle. Roland stepped forward and took a few himself without being asked. Dad looked at the shoes, then at Gordon. "So you destroyed his property too," he said. Steady. Quiet. The kind of quiet that made the entire room shrink. Gordon tried again. He need to learn. Dad cut him off. He learned enough. I put the ruined sneakers in a trash bag and tied it shut. That was the last thing I packed. Tanya hovered beside me as I zipped my backpack. She kept shaking like she wanted to say something, but didn't know if she could. When we got outside, Dad loaded my things into the car. Roland stood between us and the house, arms crossed in case Gordon tried anything. Tanya followed us to the driveway. "Darius," she whispered, "please, just make sure he's okay." Dad nodded. "He'll be safe with me." That's when she broke. "I couldn't control him anymore," she said, voice cracking. "I tried. I swear I tried." Dad didn't yell, didn't blame her. He just said, "I'm filing for custody." Tanya covered her face but nodded. "I know. It's what's best. I know." Dad opened the car door for me. I looked back at the house one last time. Gordon stood in the window, bandaged nose pressed awkwardly against the glass, breathing like a vacuum machine through cotton. Dad shut the door gently. "We're going home." And this time, home didn't mean here. Dad didn't waste time. The same day we moved my stuff in, he drove me to the station and filed a police report for assaulting a minor. He laid everything out. The shove, the injury, the way Gordon tried blocking him in the driveway. All of it. He showed the photos he took of my shoulder and back. Every angle, every bruise. The officer listened, nodded, and took notes without looking surprised. I figured they probably saw this kind of thing more often than people like to admit. What none of us expected was Gordon trying to get ahead of the story. The next morning, Dad got a call from an officer saying Gordon had reported him, claiming Dad attacked him for no reason at all and that I ran away and lied about everything. Dad didn't even blink. "Yeah," he told the officer. "I figured he'd try that." But the thing Gordon didn't count on? The neighbors. Turns out half the street saw him swing first. Mrs. Delgado from across the yard. The retired firefighter on the corner. Even some guy walking his dog who had no idea who any of us were. They all told police the same thing. Gordon started it. Dad ended it. Simple. CPS got involved shortly after, like the officer said they would. They called Dad and told him they needed to do an interview with me as part of the report. Dad agreed immediately. When the CPS worker came, this woman named Ms. Alden, she showed up with a clipboard, a soft voice, and the kind of polite smile that said she had seen things worse than our mess. She stepped inside and glanced around before asking, "Is Jalen available?" Dad nodded. "He's in the living room." I was already sitting on the couch, trying not to look nervous even though my leg was bouncing like it was training for a marathon. She sat across from me. Dad pulled up a chair, but he didn't crowd me. He just sat a few feet back, hands together, letting me handle it. "Okay, Jalen," she said gently. "I want you to tell me what happened at your mom's house. Start from the shove." So I did. No dramatic speech, no crying, just the facts. Gordon rummaging through my stuff, banning me from seeing Dad, grabbing me, shoving me hard enough to leave marks, screaming in my face. Ms. Alden kept notes the whole time. When I finished, Dad quietly placed the photos on the table. Then, he handed her the timeline he had written down the night it all happened. Dates, times, what Gordon said, what I said, even the neighbors' names. She looked impressed. "Thank you, Mr. Rivera. That makes this a lot easier." Dad nodded. "I'm just trying to keep my son safe." She glanced at me again. "Have you ever felt unsafe in that home before this incident?" I didn't sugarcoat anything. "Yeah," I said. "A lot of times." She asked what I meant, and I told her. The yelling, the way Gordon got in my face, the threats, the constant pressure. And then I told her what Mom whispered to me the night I left, that Gordon had grabbed her arm once and punched a wall near her. That part made her write even faster. "Thank you for telling me that," she said. "You're doing the right thing." When the interview wrapped, she said she'd be making her official report and checking in with my mom as well. Dad walked her to the door, calm and collected, not trying to influence anything. He didn't have to. The truth was already enough. After she left, Dad sat beside me on the couch. "I'm filing for custody," he said. No hesitation. "Temporary first, then permanent." I nodded. I didn't need convincing. It was the right move. Later that evening, Tanya called. Dad stepped outside to talk to her privately, and I stayed in the living room, pretending not to listen while hearing every word anyway. "I'm not fighting you on the custody thing," my mom said, her voice cracking through the phone speaker. "I know he's safer with you." Dad kept his voice steady. "Tanya, you tried, but that house isn't good for him. Or you." She sniffed like she had been crying all day. I couldn't control Gordon anymore." Dad didn't say "I told you so." He didn't rub it in. He just said, "We'll get this handled. You worry about yourself for now." When he came back inside, he told me gently, "Your mom's supporting the custody filing." I nodded. Good. And that night, I slept in my dad's spare bedroom, like it was the first time I'd slept in weeks. No yelling in the hall, no footsteps stomping around, just silence. Real silence. The kind you didn't have to be afraid of. Over the next few days, the fallout around Gordon started spreading. Neighbors whispered. People posted vague messages on the local Facebook page about certain men losing their tempers. Even Braden walked around school avoiding eye contact with anybody who might mention it. Everyone knew he tried blocking a car like a movie villain and ended up with a broken nose for his trouble. And Gordon? He couldn't hide. He walked around with that giant nose mask, both eyes bruised, talking through congestion like every word was fighting its way out. "Thiz is all liez," he apparently told people, but nobody bought it. CPS kept checking in. Police kept calling for follow-ups. Tanya barely spoke to him. She slept in a different room. The house he ruled wasn't listening anymore. He had lost control. Just not in the way he always feared, in the way he caused himself. Meanwhile, Dad and I kept moving forward. I stayed with him full time. He bought me a new pair of sneakers. Not the same rare drop, but clean enough to make me feel like myself again. He fixed up the spare room, hung a shelf, got me a desk to do homework. For once, I had a space that felt like mine. And when Dad clipped the temporary custody papers to the fridge, he looked at me and said, "You're home now, for real." I nodded, not needing to say anything back. Because I was free. From Gordon. From the yelling. From the house that never felt like home. And I wasn't going back. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.